I'm going to introduce our panelists. It's a very wide, global reaching panel. First, we have Nathalie Garça. She works alongside with her father, Emile Garça, who opened his first agency in Provence in 1963. Today, the group has 30 non-franchised agencies covering Paris and nearly all of France. The group has offices in Morocco, Geneva, and in 2017, they opened in Brussels. It also has representatives in London and Los Angeles, as well as partners in Portugal, Brazil, and the United States. Next, I have Julie Foppel, and she's the founding principal of Jackson Hole Real Estate Associates. Jackson Hole Real Estate, it's the largest real estate company in the Teton region, and the 2011 and 2014 recipient of the Christie's Global Alliance Global Affiliate of the Year Award. The firm is comprised of experienced and very successful agents, and some of their listings include some of the most sought-after real estate in the world. Next, we have Dima Lawrence, managing partner of ARC Properties in Shanghai. ARC Properties is one of the few independent and foreign-owned real estate companies in Shanghai. It's focused predominantly on colonial, residential, and other unique property. In 2016, they started a new venture, which focuses on assisting Chinese investors with the purchase of overseas assets. And it also facilitates marketing and sales of overseas residential projects to the Chinese market. ARC also operates an independent destination service provider, ARC Relocation, and that covers over 20 cities across mainland China. Next, Daniel Vashki. That's right. 12 years of experience. He had 12 years of experience before joining Mallorca Gold in 2014. 1 year later, he became the owner, and since that time, he's been constantly expanding the business. They specialize in the highest-end homes in Mallorca's best locations, particularly in the residential area of Son Vida with its 3 golf courses, the island southwest and the west coast. They facilitate access to properties that are not on offer to the general market. Next, Andres Regioni. He is a partner at LX Costa Rica. That's Costa Rica's premier luxury real estate agency. He's also the co-founder of Nativu Property Advisors, recently launched Latin American Real Estate Network, and a partner at BuildTech, Central America's first light gauge steel framing and construction company. Busy. The LX team is dedicated to full service for the most remarkable properties in Costa Rica, and they offer a curated property portfolio and discreet access to Costa Rica's finest portfolio of luxury properties. Next, we have Gary Gold. That's a marquee name in luxury real estate, and his sale of the Playboy Mansion sets a record as the first residence to sell at over $100 million in Los Angeles. Hilton and Highland, founded by Rick Hilton and Jeff Highland, is one of the top luxury real estate firms in the world. It's dedicated to customer service and ensuring their clientele received unparalleled service in the real estate sphere. It's one-of-a-kind commitment to some of the most exclusive, as we had just cited, communities in Los Angeles. And last, we have Whitney McGurk. And he's from the Worth Avenue Brown Harris Stevens office. Year to date, he has closed just under $100 million in sales in Palm Beach County. His background is in luxury marketing here in the city, working with Harry Winston and later with the Related Group. When he got to Palm Beach, he began his career in real estate, and he achieved Brown Harris Stevens Award for largest commercial deal in 2016. In 2017, he got the award for the largest condo sale. BHS is having a stellar year, closing 3 of the top 10 deals so far in that market. So we have a very wide representation here, and so I think the best way to start, maybe we can start with Nathalie, is have everybody go around and talk a little bit about their market, and also how the real estate process works in your communities. I mean, are agents independent contractors? How is commission shared? What's the size of a typical firm? And how a sale works. I mean, it's a lot of information, but give a sense of how the process works where you're from.
So it's a family business since 1963. My father is always there in south of France. He started there and he's always there. He's going to have 80 this year. And we take care of this company with my brother Emmanuel, who is here today with us. The company, we are the only one in France who are not franchising. It's a family business. We have near 40 offices in all France, and one in Brussels, one in Geneva, and in Morocco, in Marrakesh. I think today it's not France. It's not France, it's the world. The world is very important. Our clients, we are specialized in the best property in all our offices. And these clients came from over the world, from USA, from China, a lot now, from everywhere, from South America, from everywhere. So we need partners like you, and it's very important. It's very nice to do that today, and we would like to do a lot of business with you all.
We look forward to that.
I will go in order, so you want to go next?
Oh, right.
Sure. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and thanks again for having me. So ARC Properties, we are a Shanghai-based real estate brokerage, very much focused on second-hand properties, and with a particular focus on what we call colonial period properties. You may not be aware, but for a good 100 years, Shanghai was under the management, or certain parts of Shanghai were under the management of foreign governments, the British, the American, German, French. And that formed a certain geographical area in downtown Shanghai that's known as the former French concession and former international concession, and resulted in sort of this very unique property stock on the ground, which are colonial style properties. In fact, Shanghai has the largest amount of Art Deco buildings, only after Miami, in the world. So very interesting property stock that was the focus of our company for the last 13 years now. We started in 2005. There we do mainly seller's representation. The market is a little bit different to the US in the sense that we don't have freelance agents, but everybody is a full-time employee, and with that, obviously, the commission structures are slightly different to what I hear is standard in the US. It's, I think, the exact opposite around. So our agents, at the end of the day, walk away with about 15 to 25% of the total deal transaction. And that's a bummer to start off with. And then the second part is that the commissions are, in generally, a lot lower than what you achieve in other markets. So a typical deal for us is about 2%, and in worst case 1% that we have to live with. But on the other side, the transaction volume is a lot larger, or used to be a lot larger, and a lot quicker to close. The current market has slowed down a little bit thanks to a large number of government incentives in order to actively slow it down and slow down transaction volume, and sort of put a limit to capital raise, which then again helped us develop some new lines of businesses. The second part that we, as you mentioned, that we do is the relocation part of the business. So corporate relocation, helping multinational corporations move their expatriate staff into China. And then the third line of business, which is probably the most interesting for everybody here, is our international aspect, and the assistance that we give to Chinese investors trying to invest or diversify into assets abroad. For us, my wife is British and I lived in the UK for a number of years, so for us England has always been a sort of a little bit more of a focus, but we've now started to branch out, and obviously the partnership with Brown Harris Stevens and the opportunity to market some of your properties in China is really a great opportunity, I think, for both sides. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Sure. So in Palm Beach, I work in the Worth Avenue office. That's one of 3 of our offices in Palm Beach County. Palm Beach has about 77 agents within our 2 offices, and then 15 agents in our West Palm Beach office. Thankfully, our commission structure is a little different than it is in Shanghai.
Thankfully.
Our market right now is going gangbusters for a couple different reasons, primarily driven by the new tax reform. A lot of New York buyers and buyers from the Northeast Corridor are coming down to Palm Beach County and claiming residency. So we're seeing a real uptick in our market due to that. But also just the quality of life is so wonderful down there that people are starting to understand that they may not have to be in a metropolitan area to make money. So they're moving their businesses and their families down to the Palm Beach area to enjoy that quality of life. Our deals are more structured on, bringing buyers and sellers. The contracts are a little different than they are here in New York. We have a typical inspection period that lasts anywhere from, say, 5 to 15 days. Then a contract will go hard. And at that point, any deposit money is non-refundable. And our transactions in Palm Beach these days seem to be about 90 to 95% cash only. So we very rarely deal with mortgages. So even though the mortgage rate is increasing, it's hopefully not going to affect our market too much. And we're doing very well. So we're looking forward to a good season.
Daniel.
Hi, Gary Gold with Hilton and Highland in Beverly Hills. Our particular office, we have one office with about 120 agents, and we do over $3 billion a year. I think there's like 40 plus agents in our office that make over $500,000 or more. You can make $500,000 in our office and literally have the suicide hotline on speed dial. You feel so less than. It's really surreal. Our office has been really interesting. We've stuck with one office. Typically, we've got pretty big firms in LA, and they're all getting gobbled up by other firms, Compass being one of them, who's just bought a firm that just bought a firm, and which I love, less people to compete with. It's all good. We have something called an escrow where we are. I know you have different, it works a little differently in other parts of the world, but we negotiate a contract and then go into escrow. It's like 17 days of contingencies, and then you go hard. Our market's really strong. If I was here last quarter, I would have been going, God, things are weird, and there wasn't that many things transacting. But in New York, I've understand that prices have actually come down. That didn't happen in LA. In LA, listing prices just went way, the sellers just overshot, and the buyers weren't buying. But for all those people that didn't buy in the third quarter, it seems like that pent-up demand, the fourth quarter is crazy. And we're seeing, I'm just seeing lots, literally lots selling for $30+ million like there's nothing. There's definitely offers out there, in the, 9 figures. There's some big properties out there, and people are getting offers on properties, and it's super, super healthy. Prices are up from last year. Volume is down.
Well, the Costa Rican market has been very active, but there's also a lot of supply, a lot of inventory. Basically, we have 2 markets in Costa Rica. We have the Central Valley that covers the greater metropolitan area, and then we have the coastal markets that are mostly the second homes or the foreigners that are coming in to retire to live in Costa Rica. Prices on the coast have been steady and going up in some parts, or maybe dropping a little bit, but in the central market, in the greater metropolitan areas, where we've seen a big drop. So there's a lot of transactions, a lot of movements. It's a good time for our company and for our agents because there are a lot of sales, but for sellers, they're suffering a little bit because they've seen a 15 to 20% drop in the last year, and it's probably going to continue for the next year. Although I just heard from Nancy here about the 10-year rule that she has about the cycles, and apparently we're not at the 10 years yet, but I don't know how that'll work in Costa Rica. We don't have a lot of transparency, meaning there's no public record of what transactions are happening, at what price point, how much somebody paid or how they paid for it. So it's very hard, unless you're a specialist in an area and a type of property, to really understand what's happening in the market. And that's the value that we bring to the table, focusing only on the highest end, the 0.5% or the 0.4% of the properties in Costa Rica. The purchase process can be similar to what you have here. Foreigners tend to buy with an escrow process where they put some money down, it goes into escrow, and they have 15 to 45 days of due diligence. Most Latin American buyers and Costa Rican buyers, which is about 50% of our luxury sales, tend to do all the work prior to committing a cent or a signature. And then when you have the closing, that can be anywhere from 1 to 8 hours. Everyone sitting at a table with multiple lawyers, and everything just happens there. Money gets transferred, all kinds of documents get signed, but it all happens at once, and it really scares foreigners. So foreigners, though, tend to go with the escrow process, and it's very transparent and available for everyone. There's opportunity because the agent and the broker market isn't regulated, meaning there is an official body, but you don't have to be a member of it. So anyone who can print up a business card can be a real estate agent. That creates a lot of opportunity, because if you do it right and you can show that you have a process and that you know your stuff, you can really lead the market easily. And I'll tell you more about that later.
More about that, yes.
Thank you first to Hall for inviting me here in this fantastic event. I am really excited to share with you all these different experiences for different markets. So thank you very much, Hall.
Thank you.
And also to the company. I'm coming from Mallorca, and again, completely different, the real estate market there. We are based especially in non-residential market. Even our owners are non-Spanish. We have about 95% to deal with foreign people. So you see how important is this international, this globalization. In Mallorca Gold, we have 5 offices. In each office, there is 4 or 5 sales agents that, in our case, are on salary. They have a fixed salary, a very small one, 1,000 euros per month, and then they get a part of the commission. The average commission is 5%. The average property that we are selling is 4 million properties. And out of this 5%, the agent gets 20% if he's closing the sale, and another 5% if he's bringing himself the property as a listing fee. We have very much stock in Mallorca. Mallorca, it is an island. I have the size only in square kilometers. It is 3,500 square kilometers. But to make you an idea, I think it is similar to Long Island. In that small part, we have over 600 properties listed, over 2 million euros. We are specialized and do take listings from 2 million and more. There are much more properties for sale in Mallorca, and that's why we honored more the sales agent that closed the deal than the sales agent that's bringing the property, which is completely different also from here. You said 400 agents, and Hall has also about 600 agents in an office. So in Europe, obviously, that is different. And again, that makes much more interesting. Mallorca is located just 20 minutes flight from Barcelona, so it's 120 miles from Barcelona in the Mediterranean Sea. The group of islands, the most famous probably that you will know more is Ibiza. Ibiza does has, again, a completely different market. We are not dealing with Ibiza properties, but it's strange that in Ibiza, for instance, you do have flats from the size of Manhattan, which is not existing in Mallorca. So we have 3,000, 4,000 square meter flats there, and the biggest one in Mallorca is 1/3 for that. So our specialty is to deal with over 2 million properties for a non-residential buyer and seller. The most wanted area or the most wanted property is a sea view villa in a good shape in terms of construction and quality. You will not find that in good located area below 5 million, and that is what we are most concentrated, between 3 and 5 million. The commission is paid 100% by the vendor. We have a sales contract with the owners, and he's giving us the commission. It is, again, everything possible, also what you told, that everybody can sell, even the gardeners, the lawyers, the poolmen, the sports teachers. So we're competing in a MLS, in a multiple system of listing, which, in top of that, everyone has a friend that has a friend that knows who is going to sell that.
Sounds
So
familiar.
it really makes it difficult. And I think for me, especially also with Brown, Harris, and Stevens, we can add, again, this that they do not have the other ones. So we have much more international connections. In my case, that is the most important thing that I want also to explore and to increase and to get this globalization and also offer the Mallorca properties of all of you that are here.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you all, and Bess and Pamela, and thank you all for being here today. So in Jackson Hole, we started our company 10 years ago. We have 115 brokers across 8 offices in really 3 specific markets, kind of main resort market and then 2 shoulder markets, Star Valley, Wyoming, and then Teton Valley, Idaho. It's interesting because we have only about 20,000 residents in the entire county of Teton County, Wyoming. And so it's a very small place, although it's pretty well known because everybody's either skied there or gone to the national parks there. And 97% of our land is protected either in national kind of conservancy or by private conservationists. And so that's what really keeps the land values so high for us. I mean, our average listing price right now is just around $3 million. And, we kind of sell across the market from, an 800 square foot small hotel condominium at $1 million to a, 500 acre ranch at $70 million, and so it creates a very interesting dynamic, though, to have such scarcity in the land, in that there's very little that's left to be developed in the entire county. Our office works very well and cooperates with the other offices, but I think one of the things that has made kind of us successful is just this whole sense of collaboration and our agents really working together to make sure that we're constantly looking out for each other, and then also what is in the client's best interest. And as a result, the market year over year is up about 30%. Our office is up about 80% in volume, just because of kind of being able to take a little bit of a different approach to real estate and work together and collaborate, and that has made an absolute world of difference.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you, some of you touched on this in your introductions, but third quarter just ended, and so if anybody wants to jump in and talk a little bit about how that quarter went compared to the prior year. I know some of you have, but if you want to elaborate, I'd love to hear how the quarter went. And New York should really start.
Well, New York, it's a very tough market, and it has been for a while. We're in a price correction, quite a major price correction. Again, I believe that when it's not a fun thing to go through, price corrections, but it will come out a healthier market. We live in a world of uncertainty, and I think that's one of the major reasons for this. Also, there's been a lot of, the market has gone up for so many years. So we're definitely fewer sales. I believe values are continuing to decline a little bit. Probably will be true for the near future. But from it all will come out stronger. We are selling a lot of properties even in that, and where we're really selling, people keep asking me, is the market down 10%, 20%? Well, of course, New York, like all markets, there's not one market. It's hundreds of markets in New York. Different market for a studio apartment than a Park Avenue apartment, et cetera. But what we're finding is that the majority of the sales that we are making is where the buyer perceives a discount from a recent comparable sale. And when you can show them that, they're buying. And we're seeing a lot more transactions since Labor Day, and I believe that's because more sellers are getting real about the realities of the marketplace.
Is that, we want to go to Florida. It sounds like you're experiencing the opposite. And,
Yes.
and I would love it if you can talk a little bit about tax reform, which I thought was very interesting, because it seems like where New York goes, Florida might be doing a little bit the opposite. So if you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So we are more of a seasonal market. So typically our third quarter is going to be a little slower, just because everyone is out of town and not focused on Palm Beach real estate. However, we've continuously had a very strong year, and I believe fourth quarter we're going to end strong. I mean, we're year to date about 13% in Palm Beach alone. over last year. And in the West Palm Beach market, it's very strong. And our third quarter, same period last year, we're up about 23 and 24% for houses and condos. So that market is also very strong, but that's more a year-round market. We are finding that a lot of people are continuously moving down just because of tax reform. People are moving businesses, employees are following, which is really propping up the market in Palm Beach in particular. And also, some of the extremely ultra high net worth individuals are anticipating it's going to take a couple years to actually claim residency in the state of Florida. So in that anticipation, they're coming down now to buy, knowing it's going to take them a couple years to get out of the threshold of New York tax paying and Connecticut and what have you. So it's continuously being strong.
We're seeing the same thing in Wyoming because we're a no income tax state as well. And it's remarkable because you've got people that are planning for a liquidity event in 3 to 5 years, and so they're finding their domicile and then really working with tax advisors, attorneys to make sure that they can kind of extricate themselves from their home state. And that's been, New York, Connecticut, Los Angeles, San Francisco have been some of our biggest feeders, and those expensive markets, I think, also are what are helping to fuel kind of our continued price appreciation because they're not as price sensitive as somebody coming from the Midwest or maybe a market where the price levels are a little bit lower.
You mentioned Los Angeles, so let's go there.
Our market fell down and people were always coming to me, what do you think's happening with the market? And they got nervous. People right now are getting nervous because they read the news, especially in places like New York and LA, and they think the world's coming to the end. That's not really happening anywhere else. We're kind of insulated and thinking things are horrible. But when even markets that have changed like New York, I ask compared to what? I mean, it's compared to the best market in the history of the planet. Even now, I've been doing this since 1981. So even now, historically, it's like unbelievable. So I think we just got really used to things being so ridiculously great. So now it's just ridiculously great, and people are getting nervous.
We're actually having the same issue in China. We used to have double-digit growth for a very long period of time, and now it's gone down to only 6-7%. And if you follow certain medias, they think that China is literally about to collapse because of a growth of only 6%, and that's certainly not the case. I mean, we are seeing a slightly slower period, particularly last quarter, actually, in terms of local sales in Shanghai was very flat. Prices are still stable, so there is no pricing correction on that. But that sort of slowth or the slower growth is entirely due to government regulations. So essentially artificial measures that have been put into place in order to slow down recent growth over the last period of time. Sort of the most common measures there are restriction on mortgages. So currently, if you're buying your second property, you're only allowed to take out a 30% mortgage, so the rest of the funds have to come up from a cash basis. There's also very tight restrictions on who can buy. So essentially, if you're a Shanghainese resident, you can buy a second property for investment. But if you're a non-Shanghai resident, you can only buy one for self-usage. That also goes even down to a family level. So 2 individuals can obviously buy 2 properties, but 1 household can only buy 1 property. Mm-hmm. So we had a raise of fake divorces over the last. It sounds funny, but it is actually true. People just going through the motion of having a divorce in order so they can buy 2 properties. But it's interesting because unlike obviously the American market, which is a lot more influenced through taxation. In China, it's more direct measures that are very practical. And the other situation that we have is that these regulations can be implemented overnight without any warning or without any sort of discussion with the industry bodies. It's literally you walk into the office and you open up your news feed and you find out that certain things that you have been working on are not possible anymore. But that's just something you have to learn how to work with in the market that we operate in.
that's a unique market-specific situation.
Sorry,
No, no.
go ahead.
In France, the market is stable. With Mr. Macron came, it's a good thing. And now, just for 6 months, the American people are coming in south of France, in Paris, everywhere. The Chinese are here a lot. First of all, it was just to buy vineyards in Bordeaux or Bourgogne, but now they're buying vineyards everywhere in France, and they start to buy flats in Paris, properties in south of France. So, and a lot of Americans are coming back in south of France everywhere, and they buy castle, they're coming back, so it's very good. But the market is not crazy, it stay stable, so it's nice. It's a good
thing.
Yes, it's a good thing, yes.
Also in Mallorca, prices has been stable, and this year, also the last quarter, has been a little bit less, about 7-8% less than again the best year ever, which was 2017. So it was 2017 since 22 or 24 years, the best year ever in high-end luxury second holiday or holiday home sales in Mallorca. It is a little bit less, below 10%, so about 8% less. And the reason there, I think, is more from the buyer side. The Northern European are the ones that buy in Mallorca, and we missed this year, obviously, the British with all this Brexit. The Scandinavian market took over this gap from the British buyers. And I have heard now that also, I think in Sweden, the tax authorities are not so helping anymore to finance Swedish citizens outside Sweden, and maybe the combination of both are why there is a little bit of recess, but prices remain stable in Mallorca.